You are listening to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast with Amanda Karlstad, episode number 283. Welcome to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to up-level their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to $1 million level and beyond. If you're ready to break through your limitations and start taking powerful action and become the seven-figure version of you that your business needs in order to grow, scale, and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Karlstad, master coach, high-level business mentor and advisor, master intuitive, and business growth and scaling expert. Let's get down to business. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's show. Today, we're going to talk about something really, really important. And this is important, especially if your goal is to grow your coaching business to a high multi-six-figure or seven-figure level and beyond. And it's a really important lesson that I want to bring to all of you today. It's a very tangible lesson that I believe is so important if you're a business owner. And the lesson is that business growth and the speed at which your business grows, especially over the long term, will be determined by how intentional you are in laying the right foundation for growth. And to the degree that you lay that foundation effectively and build that foundation in your business. And one of the ways that I want to just sum this up for you is that a lot of times rapid growth in your business is caused by accident. And sustainable growth that is sustainable over the long term, is growth that happens on purpose. And I want that to really sink in for a moment. Rapid growth is typically growth that happens by accident, while sustainable growth is growth that happens on purpose. And here's why this is important. One of the things that I talk about all of the time in this podcast is the importance of playing the long game. And if you have big goals, if you have the goal of taking your business to that high multi-six, seven-figure level and beyond, the reality of that is that the only game that is going to get you there is going to be your willingness and your commitment to playing the long game, which means being all in, which means being willing to do the purposeful work that is required to build and grow and scale your business to its highest level. And that level of growth will always be the product. It will be the result of purposeful growth, of being very purposeful in the strategies that you employ in your business. By being purposeful in becoming the leader your business needs you to become. It does not come through accident. Now, one of the things that I've observed over time in many, many businesses, and in some that I have coached directly, and in others that have just been in my observation, is that they did in fact experience rapid growth by accident. And I want to say, and I want to be clear here, that while rapid growth is a very welcome thing in most businesses, I mean, let's be real. And I'm thinking of two examples in particular where one business had a really, really successful launch. This was one of their first launches where they were able to go out and launch to the tune of multi-six figures in one of their first launches in their business. And another example that I'm thinking of where this business was really able to go from low six figures to really catapulting to that seven-figure level. And in both of these examples, the growth happened very, very rapidly. So in the first example, the growth happened in literally a matter of weeks during like this really intense launch period. And in the other, it also happened very, very quickly. And it really happened over the course of, I believe it was a month or two, but really, really explosive growth. And again, while this was a very much a welcomed thing in the business, at the same time, in both of these examples, the growth was actually not sustainable, meaning it was not growth that could be replicated. It was not growth that was the result of having proper systems and having certain things dialed in on the business. Instead, it was really the result more by accident. It was the result of, I would say, partly good timing, but also mostly due to a very, very big jump in visibility, which was due to being on somebody's platform that had a very large audience that ended up bringing in a very, very high level of visibility to the business. And the truth is that this was a level of visibility that they likely would not have had they not had this opportunity. Now, again, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm not telling any of you to turn down any rapid growth or any opportunities that you might have. However, what I am saying is that when we're talking about true sustainability, meaning having sustainable growth that will continue to grow over the long term, when I'm talking about actual profitable, repeatable long-term growth, in the examples that I just shared with you, because that growth came so quickly and so fast and it was so immediate, what actually ended up happening was because on the back end of this, that these businesses didn't actually have the foundation built. They didn't actually have proper systems in place. What ended up happening is that they couldn't then go out and replicate the same level of growth, both from a marketing and sales perspective, but also from a delivery perspective. And in both instances, both of these businesses actually went through a very massive decline, where there had to be a complete overhaul of the business and all of the systems and all of the pieces had to essentially be looked at or done away with or rebuilt. And I share this with you because this is a very, very real thing, you all. And my observation is that most businesses that experience a rapid level of growth, and again, I'm talking in generality here, but again, in most instances, when this level of rapid growth happens so quickly, it usually comes from a scenario where the business is getting a lot of exposure very, very quickly. And generally what ends up happening is that unless you have the proper foundation built, unless you've done the work of laying the foundation in the business, that growth, I have not in my career observed one example where this has actually been sustainable growth. So this is very, very important because in order to build and grow and scale a sustainable business, a profitable business over the long term, that must first come through purpose, which is why I'm so adamant about this work. And this is the work that we do with all of our clients because true sustainability will only come from purposeful, from intentional work. And in so many cases, it is going to take some time. And I want to be clear that I'm not saying that it has to take forever. I'm not saying that this has to take a long time. In fact, I think this can happen relatively quickly over the course of a few weeks, even if it's done well, if it's done properly, and if there is a high level of clarity already that exists in the business, this can actually happen pretty quickly. However, it does require a bit of a slowdown. It does require a bit of a reassessment. It does require much more intentionality, especially if you've already reached that multi-six-figure level in your business. The reality is that what's got you to your current level is going to need to look probably different from what got you to your current level. And depending on your offers, depending on your business, on what your goals are, this might mean that you have to refine your offers or maybe even retire or sunset certain offers. With almost every client that we've worked with at this level, it's going to require a minimum, or it has required a minimum of some slight shifts in delivery or how the brand is being positioned, how the offer is being positioned, or getting even further clarity on who the offer or the offers are even for. We take a very holistic approach to business, to our clients' businesses. And regardless of what those changes are or what those shifts are, what is a constant in every single scenario is that when we're able to help create and build truly sustainable success, the truth is that this only comes from very purposeful, from very intentional work. It does not come from trying to just get a quick win. It comes from doing the deep work of looking at all of the pieces in the business and getting very clear on not only what the next level looks like, but also the real strategy that is going to power that growth. And the most sustainable, high-performing, most profitable, high-revenue businesses always started or reached a point where they had to get very intentional and very purposeful in their growth, which on the inside of that does require, in most cases, slowing down and getting intentional about those next steps and building out real systems in the business in terms of marketing and sales and delivery, and also from a brand perspective. So I want to offer to you, I've got some questions for you to consider. Are you in a place where you're actually doing the work of sustainable growth? Or are you in a place where, if you're being honest, you're only looking for rapid growth, where maybe you're only looking for growth in the immediate future that isn't actually sustainable over the long term? This is a very, very important question that I'm offering to you that I want you to answer very honestly. And I want you to assess, where might you only be looking for rapid, unsustainable growth or strategies or tactics in your business that actually don't have the capacity to be truly sustainable over the long term? Where might you be chasing those quick wins far too often, where if you were to shift your focus and put that on true sustainable growth, knowing that you are in it for the long term, what would be different? What would you be doing differently? I really want to invite you to answer these questions. And I would also invite you, if you are serious about growing and scaling your coaching practice over the next several months, and you're committed to doing the real intentional work that leads to sustainable success, then I want to invite you to join us inside of my mastermind containers, where we go deep, where we take all of this to the next level, where you will do the very important, the very required work that does lead you to true sustainability. I invite you to apply to join us, because this is the differentiator, my friends. This is what will power you and will power your business to the next level. It's a total game changer, and I'd love the opportunities to support you. You can go to the show notes or go to my website at amandakarlstadcoaching.com. You can find the link to the application there. All right, everyone, have an amazing week. I'll talk to you all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the $1 Million Coach Business Podcast. If you're ready to step into the $1 million version of yourself and scale your business to 6, multi-6, or 7 figures and beyond, go to amandakarlstadcoaching.com.